Welcome in to 2 for 1 Drafts. Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner, the Monday edition of 2 for 1 Drafts. Got a jam-packed show today. Going to talk little prospect debates. Renner, you got some takes. You got some takes on some prospects. Jedrick Wills over Mekhi Becton, Anthony Gordon over Jacob Eason. Some good takes among others we're going to dive into. I'm excited for that. We'll then segue to some interviews. I'm not stealing your takes.
Don't be taking the shine off them.
I'm not trying to take any shine here, but I'm just trying to preview. But interviews, I got interviewed former Auburn offensive tackle Jack Driscoll. Super nice guy. Dude was a freaking all-star. Super nice guy. I had a good time talking to him. And Jordan Elliott, short and sweet. I'll tell you that right now. Jordan Elliott is not a talker. does not love to chat. We were in and out of that one pretty quickly. But he was still gave some good insight. Very smart dude, though. Even though he was short and sweet, you could tell really understood the game, really understood his strengths and weaknesses. We will then pivot to the worst picks from our colleague Steve Palazzolo's mock draft. And then new segment, going to debut a new segment, Pub Crawl. We're going to go around the league a little bit from what we're hearing, some rumors that we're hearing about certain prospects and weigh in on that, including the latest, Daniel Jeremiah saying that 2 GMs in the past 24 hours have said Isaiah Wilson, the other Georgia offensive tackle, will go in the first round, which is just... absolutely absurd. Can we just start it off? I mean, can we just kick it there? It's just absolutely absurd.
I want to get to that pub crawl. Yeah, that one's going to be fun. It's fun with that.
Just unreal. All right, well, then let's go ahead and dive into this draft this guy, not that guy segment. I'm going to just tee you off here, and maybe I'll agree, maybe I'll disagree. Let's start here, though. Jedrick Wills, the Alabama offensive tackle. You want to draft him ahead of Mekhi Becton, Louisville offensive tackle, the big man.
Yeah, so I can see here is there are a lot of times, like, there are tiers of players in the NFL in terms of, like, teams will see 3 cornerbacks in a similar light, and then we're trying to decide between, when there are tiers like that, which one you want at the top. Which one of those guys do you really want, and which one of those guys do you think, I wouldn't want that guy among that tier. So offensive tackle tier, there's this kind of like top tier, but I think Wills and Becton are similar because they're both these athletic freaks who it kind of hasn't all taken place. Like, there's a ways for them to both go on the football field in terms of they need a little bit of development. It hasn't really shown to elite level play yet. I want, though, of them, Jedrick Wills, because, one, the movement skills. Like, I will take lateral agility over raw power every day. And now I'm not saying Wills doesn't have raw power, but that's like Mekhi Becton's sort of calling card, is the fact that he's just physically this freak of nature, dominant, powerful, and moves like no other 370-pound man moves, but he still doesn't move anywhere near what Jedrick Wills does. Like, he still doesn't have near that agility, near the like explosiveness out of his pass sets. He's good for a 370-pounder, but like rank average in terms of offensive tackles, good pass checking offense tackles in the NFL. So that's the biggest thing for me, is give me the guy who has all the traits to pass protect at a high level. Becton, you'll get these crushing blocks in the run game, and yes, it's impressive, but there's just so many question marks about him in pass protection. That Louisville offense, 86 run blocking snaps this year, 314 pass blocking, majority of those play action passes, not tested one-on-one. Competition he saw in the ACC wasn't great. Like, a lot of these sort of like red flags, sort of worries about him, that if they're in the same tier for you, I'm going Jedrick Wills all day, every day.
I think I agree with you, but for similar reasons. But Jedrick Wills' production. I mean, Jedrick Wills earned a 90.5 PFF run blocking grade this past year and 88.4 overall grade. With Mekhi Becton, he's never graded at a high level. After switching left and right tackle in 2018, he was just on left tackle in 2019, earned an 82.6 overall grade, an 81.5 PFF pass blocking grade, and a 79.4 run blocking grade. I mean, he just doesn't have the production. And we've talked about this before, but with Mekhi Becton, when you look at just those true passes, just when you're seeing non-play action, non-screen dropbacks, no quick game, he allowed 8 pressures on a very few amount of snaps. I want to say it's in the 90 range. It's just concerning. Like, yes, he has this power. Yes, he has this upside, but like, I'm not buying into that over guys that do have production in addition to very, very good tools. Because Jedrick Wills, maybe he's not the Mekhi Becton, but he still has a very, very, very good measurables and athletic tools.
Guy Becton, I'm not putting this on him whatsoever. Like, he can still be a very good tackle in the NFL, but his sort of the hype around him and what the people falling all over themselves to put him, in the top 10 in this draft reminds me a lot of when Greg Robinson came out. And people are like, just look at this physical tools. Look at this run block he has where he just takes this guy off the screen. look at this other, look at his pass protection. Look at him just put this guy in the dirt. And it's like, that's not, it's a consistency based position. It is not a highlight reel position. Highlight reel is great. And we've talked about that with Tani Muti all the time. But if Tani Muti didn't have the consistency, we wouldn't be high on him. We would just say, oh, it's a highlight reel. And yes, he's way more physically dominant than the guys he's going up against. That was Mekhi Becton. You're not going to be that much more physically dominant in the NFL. You can't just get by on that in the NFL. You have to have a number of different things. And obviously the Rams found out that the hard way with Greg Robinson. Not putting that on Mekhi Becton, but just who he reminds me of.
Teeing up your next take here, it's still in the trenches, interior defensive line. You have Jayvon Kinlaw, the South Carolina defensive tackle. You want to draft him ahead of Derrick Brown, which I think gets a lot of people excited because some people see Derrick Brown as this top 5 type of player, a can't miss type of prospect. To kind of debut or talk about Jayvon Kinlaw a little bit, 89.3 overall grade this past year and 90.7 PFF pass rushing grade in 2019 and 88.7 pass rushing grade in 2018. With Derrick Brown, it's the pass rushing that's not on the same tier as some of these other interior defensive tackles, just like Jayvon Kinlaw, just an 88.2 pass rushing grade this past year and 85.6 the previous year. Talk to me about this too, and talk to me why Jayvon Kinlaw over Derrick Brown.
So, hand up, I had Derrick Brown over Jayvon Kinlaw on the last draft board. That's on me. I went back and watched, and while this is no knock against Derrick Brown, I think you'll be a great NFL player, but he's going to be a great run defender, and he could develop into a plus pass rusher. I think Jayvon Kinlaw can be that real impact pass rusher on the interior. So give me that guy all day, every day if we're talking about a first round pick. Because you can find run defenders in the second round. You can find run defenders in the third round. You cannot find interior pass rushers like that later in the draft for the most part on the interior. They go quickly. Jayvon Kinlaw and the rawness aspect of it really almost, like I said, plays in his favor in that he's killing guys with just the same like one, two moves. He's killing guys routinely. The movement skills are just off the charts with him. And now we didn't get any testing, unfortunately, at the combine. But I mean, the size, like he just has it all to be a dominant interior presence. I don't think Brown has it all to be that every single down as a pass rusher, you got to account for him sort of player. So hand up. I had Derrick Brown ahead because he was more of a polished product, more complete player, I thought. And I still think that, but I just give me Jayvon Kinlaw and the projection and what he can become.
I'm with you for two significant reasons. One, Jayvon Kinlaw already very productive as a pass rusher and knows like one move, raw, like you said. I think if you teach him more pass rushing moves, Jayvon Kinlaw is going to get very good in the NFL. And I think he has the character and demeanor and the measurables to be a very productive pass rusher with more moves in the NFL. Two, with Derrick Brown, like you said, more complete, very good against the run, but it's that replaceability that you spoke to. You can find other interior run defenders later. Like, would you rather have Derrick Brown in the top 10 or Leki Fotu at the top of round 4? I'm going Fotu every day of the week, even with the injury history, because Fotu can play the run at a high level, and I know Derrick Brown can as well. I think Jayvon Kinlaw, I'm excited to see the move. Jayvon Kinlaw going ahead of Derrick Brown on the next big board.
And also, like, Damon Harrison was the unquestioned best run defender in the NFL for like a 6-year stretch. And at no point ever were his, did that move the needle to where his defenses were these elite defenses. It was just
he got traded for a 5th round pick.
Exactly. Like that was, and he was unquestioned the best run defender in the NFL. Derrick Brown, if everything goes right, that's what he becomes. And now he could add a little more as a pass rusher than Damon Harrison, but like that's your upshot is he becomes a guy worth around $10 million a year, which is what Damon Harrison got a few years back.
Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm excited to see the move, the shift in the big board. Moving to this next one, and I'm on this train and then some. I don't even know if there's a debate. Patrick Queen, the LSU off-ball linebacker, over Kenneth Murray, the Oklahoma off-ball linebacker. Patrick Queen, more instinctual. I think he's better turning his back in coverage. I think he offers more at off-ball linebacker. Kenneth Murray, I think in a limited role, can have success similar to Rashaan Evans, but I just don't see Kenneth Murray having anywhere near the same level of success in a scheme versatile role like Patrick Queen.
And so someone, I don't know where I was, someone brought up a comp for Kenneth Murray that scared the hell out of me. And that the more I watch Kenneth Murray now, the more I'm like, damn, I don't know if I can get that out of my head as Jared Davis of the Lions.
Uh-oh.
And Jared Davis coming out of Florida had a lot of the similar highlights where it's like he saw something, he reacted, got cut into the backfield, and you fell in love with the plays like that. And you're like, man, if he just like speeds up a little bit, and like that happens on a consistent basis, you're talking about a playmaker at linebacker, and it just never sped up. Like that was just who he was that guy.
Having it speed up at the next level is so much easier said than done because the level of competition gets harder. The game gets faster. It's hard to progress instinctually and progress your processing when it just gets that much faster. It's like you're already not good enough for level 5 of this video game, and now you need to get better, and we're moving you to level 14. How can you do it? Now you need to get better. It's like, oh my God. And that's why you see also with the off-ball linebacker and tight end, some other positions, rookie, on rookie contracts, you rarely see off-ball linebackers develop into premier players. That's why it's going to take time for Devin Bush and Devin White to progress into good players. I think you would see that with Kenneth Murray and then some.
Yeah, I can't get that out of my head because there are some of the similar concerns, and just the fact that he really, and I tried to I've kind of excused some of it away, being it's the Big 12. Everything's spread out. He has all these different responsibilities because, of the spread and what he has to defend. But at some point, he just didn't make plays on the ball in coverage. And that's kind of scary at the end of the day when a guy really hasn't been an impact player in that regard. It's only made plays going forward. And those, like I said, those plays look great, but there's such a limited sample of what you're going to be asked to do in the NFL that just give me Patrick Queen in this scenario. I'd much rather come away the first round with him.
All right, moving to the next one here. TCU wide receiver Jalen Reagor over Baylor's Denzel Mims. I know you're not as high on Denzel Mims as some other guys in the PFF offices, and I know you love Jalen Reagor. Tell me why.
So, and I even just straight up wrote an article this past week saying that Denzel Mims, his rise up draft boards from the end of the season through now, after the Senior Bowl, after the Combine, is for real. He deservedly has risen up draft boards. That what he did at both Senior Bowl and Combine actually matters to the football field and actually matters to his evaluation. Given his evaluation was a limited role in Baylor, very vertical, very much not a full route tree. He showed a different skill set at those 2 stops afterwards. But still, you just don't see the reps on tape where he's killing guys. You don't see him get off the line cleanly and just blaze past. And that's kind of scary because he's not facing good competition in the Big 12 at cornerback. He was not he wasn't facing the cream of the crop in terms of he's not in the SEC. He's not facing a lot of press coverage, or I guess he was facing a lot of press coverage. He wasn't facing a lot of talented press cornerbacks. And then yes, the Senior Bowl was great, but again, we've said the highest rated cornerback there was Troy Pride, who might go in the 3rd round. There wasn't the actual top talent in this draft at the Senior Bowl. So Jalen Reagor has those reps. Jalen Reagor has those reps on tape where he just he's 10 yards past a guy, where he gets a clean release and then peace, he's gone. He has reps that are just utterly dominant on tape. And as a guy who was doing that as a true sophomore compared to, Denzel Mims this past year as a senior, give me the guy who's done it already at the college level, separating down the football field consistently, even though the production was butt cheeks in terms of his quarterback situation. But just give me that guy in Jalen Reagor.
I feel like there are a ton of reasons to side with you here. Denzel Mims, you watch games against Jeff Gladney and Parnell Motley, the guy gets locked up. He does not handle those cornerbacks well, does not produce at a high level. He didn't have those dominant reps consistently at Baylor. And then you compare Jalen Reagor, he had the 3rd lowest percentage of accurate targets thrown his way this past year. You look at his 2018 tape, younger, like you said, very, very productive, very explosive, but maybe I do side with you with Reagor over Mims, but I think this one's closer than some of the other ones. I'm all in on Kinlaw over Brown. I'm all in on Queen over Murray. But Reagor versus Mims, I want to buy into the hype a little bit more than maybe you do with the Combine and the draft and the Senior Bowl, because I really, really do like what he did at the Senior Bowl. I also talked to him, and I love how he approaches the game. He's a very smart player as well. This one's closer for me, but maybe I am on board with you with Jalen Reagor over Denzel Mims.
You talked to Mims, and he won you over. I talked to
Reagor too. I talked to Reagor too.
Which one was the better? Which
Denzel
one
Mims
talked about the playbook more? Mims had the playbook more. Then that's your guy then.
Yeah, well, Denzel Mims, I feel like was a better interview. But Jalen Reagor again is impressive in his own right. I think it'll be interesting to see how those two receivers. I like it comparing them because both of them maybe not same from a size standpoint, but very similar from an explosive ability. He can win at the intermediate and deep levels of the football field. Which of those guys becomes a better receiver will be an interesting narrative to follow in 2020 and beyond. All right, moving forward, Josh Jones, the Houston offensive tackle, a guy that you've been high on since the end of the season, if not late in the season, versus Austin Jackson, the USC offensive tackle who's been hyped up as a back end of the first round type of guy in mock drafts and big boards of late. You have not been on the Austin Jackson trade. I'm sure you're all in on Josh Jones.
This is true. And this one's no surprise. We've been on this for a while now. But the Austin Jackson in the first round, watch him against AJ Epinesa, who's now getting, pushed down into likely the second round, which is going to be a guy we're going to talk about later on in this draft, this guy, not that guy segment. But his hands have no power behind him in his punch. And yes, he did like good reps at the combine and whatever. And he's still young, not even 21 years old yet. There's some reasons to get on board, but he's just got a softness to his game that I'm not sure gets fixed. Like, you're banking on a lot getting fixed. And if you're drafting a guy in the first round, you're throwing him to the Wolves. Like, you're not sitting that guy on the bench most likely. So, and Josh Jones is just like far more ready to play in the NFL. And it's, again, Josh Jones isn't a bad athlete. Like, this isn't like a bad athlete versus an elite athlete. It's just splitting hairs between maybe Austin Jackson's a little more athletic than Jones, but like on the football field, it's not night and day. Josh Jones was a much, much better football player. So I don't know. I just think this one, I'd much, much rather want to come away with the Houston tackle over USC's Austin Jackson.
And I think that what you said at the back end of that is just Josh Jones is just a much better football player. And I think that was reflected in the grading profile. We talked to Dane Brugler of The Athletic. He said Josh Jones had 4 different offensive line coaches in his time at Houston, but still his pass blocking grade improved every year of his career, up to a 91.2 PFF pass blocking grade and a 92.7 PFF run blocking grade in 2019. You look at Austin Jackson, yes, a young player, but still under 80.0 pass blocking grades, never earned a run blocking grade above 68.9. The production just simply hasn't been there. And 9 times out of 10, if not 9.9 times out of 10, when PFF is comparing prospects, the guy with maybe better upside, who's younger, more athletic, versus a guy who has great production at the collegiate level is just going to fall second. And I think with Josh Jones, this is the case.
Yeah, and the Austin Jackson, the biggest, so like you look at his game-by-game grades. And the 3 games he played actual NFL prospects. So Utah, week 4, Bradley and I, 45.3 pass blocking grade. Notre Dame, week 7, Julian Akwar, and I guess Khalid Kareem too, 53.7 pass blocking grade. Iowa, bowl game, AJ Epinesa, 57.3 pass blocking grade. Like, he lost to the guys who were actually playing in the NFL. That's not a good sign. That should be red flag right there. Like, when he faced the guys that actually are playing in the NFL, he did not hold up well. And I don't think that's going to change when not only the guys he faces are all guys that are playing the NFL next year, but like they're grown men and are even better than the guys he faced this past year.
Allowed 3 sacks against Iowa. Man, oh man. All right, moving forward, we're going to go interior offensive line. Cesar Ruiz, the Michigan center, versus Lloyd Cushenberry. Talk to me about this one.
Yeah, so Lloyd Cushenberry, I don't really get the hype because this past season at LSU, he played in a very pro-style scheme, like Joe Brady. They did a lot of empty sets. It was a lot of what he's going to see at the NFL. And it was probably a more difficult role than the vast majority, if not like every other center in college football, because they passed a lot of empty sets. Like, it was on him. He had a lot of one-on-ones in pass protection. But at the same time, like, he failed those tests. Like, he gave up the most pressures of any center in college football. He was not great on them. And he really struggled with quickness. And so that would terrify me for projecting the NFL, just how often he did allow pressure. And Cesar Ruiz, younger guy, not even 21 years old, true junior coming out, really smooth. Both are projected middle of second round, maybe early second round. I would just feel much more comfortable if I came away with Ruiz and his, much, much better balance, far fewer reps where he's just getting absolutely, just falling flat on his face at the point of attack sort of thing that we saw from Cushenberry this past year. So give me Michigan center Cesar Ruiz if I'm, in need of interior offensive line help in the second round.
I remember you had a really good take on Ruiz previously when you were watching him. You go through the first run of tape and you're like, wow, yeah, this guy's good. He's pretty good. And then you watch more and you're like, oh my gosh, he never loses. Maybe he doesn't have that highlight level tape, but I remember you said that Cesar Ruiz just does a lot of things very well and does, when you just don't see a ton of mistakes on tape, it takes to the end of it till you realize this guy's a very good player. I think that's what with Cesar Ruiz over Lloyd Cushenberry. On Lloyd Cushenberry, you see some bad reps on tape, specifically this past year, earned a career low overall grade with LSU this past year. All right, jumping to AJ. Go ahead. Yeah,
I was gonna say, so Ruiz, like, our grading system goes from minus 2 to positive 2 for offensive line play, and anything below like a -1 is those reps where you just like lose on contact, fall flat on your face. He didn't have a single rep this year with a minus 1.5 or a minus 2 grade. It just didn't have one. So that's kind of who he is. It's just even when he does lose, it's not super ugly.
How many minus ones?
He had 22, but a lot of those are going to be penalties. So
gotcha. All right, let's jump to AJ Epinesa versus Terrell Lewis. This one's obvious. You've been higher on AJ Epinesa than a lot of guys early on. And even with the fall after the combine, he's still a much better player than Alabama's Terrell Lewis. What stands out for me is Epinesa, very productive. Maybe he doesn't have the athleticism you covet for edge defender in the NFL, but you turn on the tape for Terrell Lewis at the Senior Bowl, I can't fathom the GM or the front office that would take him over AJ Epinesa. He could not win against top-level competition in Mobile. I think that's what concerns me. Very inconsistent at Alabama as well, and then you also have the injury history.
Yeah, so Terrell Lewis is not necessarily a huge knock on him. Like, he could be there. He could get better. There's a lot to like about him. And from a build and sort of athleticism perspective, he's got the traits that will, that can develop into something good in the NFL. But like Epinesa is, one, younger, two, far, far more productive already at the college level. And yes, the athleticism is a concern, but if AJ Epinesa really falls to the second round, I think he's going to be one of the steals of the draft. Like, he just seems very safe in what he brings to the table, which is just really good hands and a powerful dude. Like that, there are multiple ways to win at the NFL level. And yes, it's easy to fall in love with the athletes and who get it done by beating other people with their athleticism, quicks, that sort of thing. But Epinesa, like, that was never how he won. He won with technique. He won with his power. And that stuff really hasn't changed despite running, a slow 40.
Yeah, 100%. All right, jumping to Anthony Gordon, the Washington State quarterback. You're taking him over Jacob Eason, who's been getting some love on the timeline recently for having that big arm. But, like, what comes up always with Jacob Eason is you look at his play under pressure. Man, oh man, it is a concern. And also, even his play, not under pressure, but he starts to see phantom pressure, reacts to pressure earlier than expected, really struggles when adversity strikes. While with Anthony Gordon, the feedback that, the positive feedback he has is definitely that plays the quarterback position well, has that innate feel for when pressure's coming, can create out of structure and those things. I think that's what you're going to want in a quarterback like Anthony Gordon over maybe a guy with a better arm talent than Jacob Eason.
Yeah, I struggle with guys like Eason who are almost robotic in the way they play quarterback. That I just don't think translates well to the NFL. Like Anthony Gordon's far more feel-based, far more capable of, just quarterbacky things. I guess it's difficult to sort of personify, but like, it looks natural to him throwing to guys who are covered and throwing it on the receiver's leverage like that. That's not something that's not something that has to be like coached up. He just like does that naturally. Jacob Eason, there's just far too many parts of his game that just look like they're coming out of a QB coaching manual. I don't love that projection of the NFL. And yes, the arm strength, whatever, but Anthony Gordon doesn't have like, he's above the threshold for arm strength in the NFL. Like, there are quarterbacks with far weaker arms than him succeeding the NFL level. So it's, again, they're mid-round prospects, both of them, probably third rounders-ish in that range. But give me Anthony Gordon. I'm choosing between those two.
I don't know why the arm strength threshold doesn't get brought up enough. I feel like there's this threshold that you need to have, and then after that, it's kind of more bonus. But sometimes, for whatever reason, guys with like elite arm strength, just rockets, get so heavily valued for like when I don't think that high end necessarily takes you to the next level. I think after you meet that threshold, I want everything but the rocket. I want accuracy. I want that innate feel to play the quarterback position. I don't need more arm strength from you after you pass that threshold. I really just want you to play the quarterback position well.
Dude, I think it's sort of a holdover from like mid-90s and the 80s when teams played spot drop zones and like you had to be able to fit it into these windows down the football field. Like there were actual like holes down the football field. You had to fit it in because and like no one was accurate. No one was like that accurate with the football or as accurate as they are today because of, quarterbacks or factories, these kids starting throwing when they're like 10 years old and getting all this coaching at the quarterback position. You didn't have that back then. And so it actually mattered to sort of when the early days of passing offenses were getting going, like that stuff actually, you needed that to execute a downfield passing offense. I don't think that's the case anymore though. Like I think that the game and the way offenses have evolved is very much accuracy based, very much timing based, and nowhere near as much arm strength and those sort of downfield throws based.
Last one here. Jonah Jackson, the Ohio State offensive guard who transferred from Rutgers, and then Ben Bredesen, the Michigan offensive guard. You've been low on Bredesen for a while. Before you kick this off, I know you want Jonah Jackson over Bredesen. Whatever. What are the positives in Bredesen's tape? Because there are people who like this kid.
I don't hate him. I would take him on day 3. I think he can pass protect in the NFL. He's just so high cut for a guard and has really short arms. And I think it's a bad combination. So he gets taken back, like he gets bull rushed a lot on his tape. And for a guy who's already a senior, I'm not sure that's ever going to change on the interior. He's just going to be a guy who's probably going to get bull rushed a lot. He just doesn't have the build to sort of combat it and is not particularly strong. So that's what worries me. He just can't sink and play with good leverage consistently, and that's worrisome when protecting the NFL. But I just think so. I would still take him like 5th, 6th round. Like he's not awful for a guard prospect. There are guys who will go in that range that I will like in the 4th round range that I would rather have Bredesen than. But Jonah Jackson is not one of them. Jonah Jackson is fantastic. Like that guy. If you're drafting Bredesen ahead of Jonah Jackson, I question your process. I question what you're looking at, just because I think the sort of how you get it done matters. And Jonah Jackson, the way he uses his hands, his balance is just as good as it gets in this draft class.
Awesome stuff, Mike. Really appreciate the takes there. Agree with a lot of them, if not most of them. And I think with the only one I feel like the one I'm closest on again is that Reagor Mims. I think it's going to be interesting to see where their careers pan out. Now let's kick to the interviews. I sat down with Jordan Elliott and Jack Driscoll, the former Auburn offensive tackle and former Missouri defensive tackle. Joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is Auburn offensive tackle Jack Driscoll. Great to have you on. I hope you're staying safe.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, just kind of do what I can and hunker down at home and kind of enjoy the draft process. But it's a little different, but it's going good so far.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not what you expected. I don't think it's what anyone expected, including media like myself. So are you right now talking to a lot of NFL teams through like Skype or video conferencing, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's like just what we're doing right now, just like FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, just all that kind of instead of the pre-draft, meetings, and unfortunately not able to work out with those teams. But it's been good. Teams will kind of maybe like some teams will show some plays with their phone and whatever, and just kind of talk through them, or maybe have me draw something up for them, or then draw something up. So making the most of it, like you said, and just really trying to take advantage of it. And just like I said, it's hard for everyone, so we're on the same boat.
What are the like advantages, disadvantages of that? Like, we're talking to the teams through video, I'm sure has its disadvantages in that you're not able to kind of see them in person and develop that. But I mean, there's probably also some advantages, maybe easy to be prepared. I'm interested in your take on that.
Yeah, it is easier to prepare because there's not too much they can do on the phone. I mean, obviously, they can maybe draw stuff up or whatnot, but you don't have to get ready for a workout and a board session. But yeah, like you said, it's really just making the most of it. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing. It's not, the best situation, but, it's been good. Every team I've talked to, it's been an awesome conversation. And, would it be ideal to be on the whiteboard in front of them in person and working out? Yeah. But I mean, like I said, every kid's in the same situation. So, but no, like I said, I mean, it's good to be able to prepare and know kind of going ahead of time. I have my notebook ready and my whiteboard ready. So, really just trying to make sure that I'm prepared for all these meetings.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to dive more into your tape right now and kind of look at that stuff. But I think let's start with transferring from UMass to Auburn. What went into that decision, and how do you think that played out for you? Obviously, from a PFF perspective, your grades have always been very good, both at UMass and at Auburn when the level of competition kind of increased. But I'm interested in why you made that transfer and your opinion of it after doing it.
Yeah, no, it turned out well, like you said, and so I started out in high school. I didn't have many offers. I was my junior year, 6'3", 205. So kind of safe to say it wasn't really a great offensive tackle coming out of high school. And my senior year, I got about 6'4", 240. So I had 2 offers, but it was UMass and West Point. And I wasn't sure about the whole military thing at that point in my life. And I was like, unless I'm gung ho on that, it's probably not a good idea to sign myself up for 5+ years. So I really like Coach Whipple. He ran a pro-style offense. So I went in at 240, gained 50 pounds. Eating was literally a full-time job, and I'm not even kidding you. I have set timers on my phone. It's like, you need to eat. I'd be full. I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to eat right now.
Oh my gosh. What do you eat? What do you eat when you're full? Like, I feel like it has to be specific foods. You can't just go back to the well on certain things.
Yeah, you can't go back to the well, but I gotta mix it up. You know, like I'll do like PB&Js for a couple weeks, and then I might do, you know, a big parfait or like a smoothie with, you know, like Greek yogurt and stuff. Just like trying to get some like healthy fats and that especially.
I mean, that's got to be wild. How many calories were you putting in trying to gain that weight per day?
I didn't have a set number, but I knew I wanted to eat about 5 full meals. Okay. And then like a couple snacks in between, like during class, you know, I'd bring protein bars or, you know, a protein shake and just, you know, down it just so I can keep my, keep the calories going.
Did you get the Ben Barch shake? I'm sure you've seen that by now. I don't know how much you've talked to Ben Barch, but he has that like shake where he puts like 12 scrambled eggs or whatever it was, Gatorade.
I actually trained with Ben out in Irvine, so nice. I know him really well. I've not tried the shake yet, though. I'll have to give it a shot and see if it works.
You need your own shake, man. You need to throw some PB&Js in there. I don't know what the hell you got to do, but figure it out. I don't know. But I think you turn on like some of the highlights in your game, and a lot of it is you moving to the second level, showing off your athleticism. Do you think that kind of separates you in this class, what you're able to do in space? Because, I mean, with offensive linemen, there's these kind of phone booth types that, you know, struggle when they have to move laterally or getting to the second level. But with you, it's kind of the opposite, and I think that does give you an edge. I'd love to know your opinion of that and kind of what goes into being a good second level blocker.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always taken pride in like really worked on my athleticism and agility, you know, from speed rope or from speed ladder to jump rope. Because I know, you know, the quicker you are and the like better you're able to get on backers in the second level and even in the third level in some cases, it just makes you that much more valuable. And it really, like you said, it sticks out on tape when you see guys climbing that second level. Those are the types of blocks that spring the long runs and spring the touchdowns. So that's something I really worked on. And, you know, that was throughout the process of gaining that weight. I always said to myself, I'm going to gain weight, but I'm not going to get fat where I lose what I'm good at. You know, I kind of sat there like, what am I good at? I was like, I'm a good athlete. I played basketball my whole life growing up. So, you know, from the defense and all that stuff. So I knew I wanted to stay athletic. And that's something I think, you know, strength coaches that really helped me out with and did a good job. I think that does separate me, though, because, you know, I see a lot of these guys and, you know, all the guys in this who are even, you know, considered being drafted are great players, and they all have their strengths, and everyone has their weaknesses. But I think that definitely separates my game. And, you know, I think you saw it at Umass in more of a, you know, traditional pro style offense, you know, a lot of outside zones, some buck sweeps. And also at Auburn, you know, we ran a lot of power and inside zone and still being able to show off that athletic ability in an offense that's not really set for that, you know, those type of, you know, athletes.
You know, practicing at Auburn, playing offensive tackle, maybe you didn't see these guys a ton, but I'd love to know practicing against Marlon Davidson and Derrick Brown. I mean, two big dudes that could go inside the first 50 picks. I mean, I'd love to know, you know, what that was like and how they made you better.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I'll say this, and like you had to bring it every day. You know, because if you didn't bring it, or you know, you were moping, or you were down at the dumps, and you know, you weren't taking practice seriously, they'd embarrass you. You know, and it's like, but the thing is too, you know, like we had 5 fifth-year seniors, so like they knew too. Like, look, like you know, we have guys who are going to be playing, and like we'll have a shot to play the next level too. So like they had to bring their like. You know, because look, if they weren't, we're going to dog them too. And, you know, it's a kind of dog-eat-dog world. So it was awesome because, you know, it makes the game so much easier when you're playing guys like Derrick and Marlon. You're not going to see many better players out there than those two. So, you know, if you're doing well and, you know, you're getting good quality reps against them, it just makes Saturday feel so much easier and so much more laid back.
Yeah.
I mean, I say laid back, just more like it's like slower because those two are so, you know, explosive and fast and powerful as well. So it just makes the game easier.
Yeah, I've heard that from other prospects who do practice against, you know, like top tier competition. They say it makes the game slower. You know, it slows the game down for you because you're able to see what NFL speed is like again, or NFL athleticism, NFL ability is like. That's interesting. I also want to, you know, so we talked about, you know, your ability at the second level, your athleticism, but I think I want to hear what teams have given feedback, you know, what type of feedback teams have given you, what they like about your game, where they think you need to improve. Based off the feedback they've given you, what have they said?
Yeah, you know, it's been pretty positive, and you know, just I think a lot of teams, some say, you know, tackle, some say inside, but you know, I just tell them like I can play all 5. You know, any position you want me, I can do it. You know, I played some center in high school. I practiced at Umass. I know I can play guard as well. I mean, I think for me, and it was big going into the combine, was to make sure I was above 300 pounds because you know, at one point I was teetering a little bit below, so it was big. You know, that was one of the things my agent had said is, you know, hey, you know, like, teams want to see you gain that weight. So to weigh at 306 and then 304.5, wherever it was at pro day, was big, you know, because it showed like, hey, look, whatever you guys are telling me to do, I'm doing. Like I'm trying to work on that and show you that. Like I'm trying to make these weaknesses my strengths. So, you know, I just been taking. I love to get coached. I love the feedback because I know, like, you know, if I can improve on that, it just makes me that much more valuable. But like, you know, just to continue to get stronger and just continue to develop because, now every guy is like Marlon and Derrick at the next level. It's not like those are like the two guys and that's the best you'll see. Like every guy was that guy in college. So just being prepared to, step my game up another level. But I was able to do it from Umass to Auburn, and I think I'll be able to make the transition now too.
What are you currently working on now that Combine Pro Days behind you? Are working with any coaches to kind of work on technique? I'd be interested to know. Obviously, the pandemic right now is affecting what you would be doing, but I'd love to know what you're currently working on. Is it film study because you have to stay inside? Where are you at right now?
Yeah, so it's been nice. I've through high school I trained at a gym that's kind of for athletes only. It's a town over for me, and because it's a smaller type of deal for pretty much only athletes go, it stayed open for now.
Oh, wow.
We'll see if it stays open in weeks to come, but I've been going there and just, going to the field and same thing, like, working on a lot of film study, understanding that, that's a big part of it and knowing, watching those guys and, what's going through their mind, trying to put myself in their shoes. And then, just like I said, staying athletic because, now even like the combine is a different type of training, it's kind of like, 40 and all that stuff. But now it's like football training and, making sure I'm in shape, making sure I'm quick and, because I think to get to that second level is big.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. That's all I had for you, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward, Jack, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. It's an honor to be on here.
Best of luck against the Marlins and Derricks of the NFL in the future. I'm sure you'll do well, and keep adding that weight, keep pressing on, and I really appreciate you coming on. Joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is Jordan Elliott, Missouri defensive tackle, a guy that PFF really has higher on their board than I would say other media, other analysts, and hopefully not other NFL teams. Hopefully you're going in round one, my guy, but it's great to have you on.
It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, man. Well, let's start with this. With this, coronavirus right now, the COVID-19 pandemic in the world right now, how much that has that affected the pre-draft process for you? I obviously hope you're staying safe and your family is staying safe, but I'm sure you're doing a ton of team interviews through Skype. You're not able to meet people in person. How's that whole process going for you?
Yeah, it's totally shifted just how, this is operating. A lot of guys telling me they're working from home now, so it's just like when they call us, it's a FaceTime interview instead of, going in person. Mm-hmm. It's a little different, but, here's what you got to do.
Yeah. What are some of the questions they ask you on those FaceTime calls? Is it most of it, trying to get an idea of your football IQ, or is it your character? I'm interested to know, where those kind of weigh.
It's just a mix of both, it just depends on the team. But more times than not is football related.
What feedback have teams given you, positive and negative? What do they say they like about your game, and what do they think you can improve on at the next level?
A lot of teams, they like my aggressiveness and just how explosive I am as a player, the violence that I have. Just as far as things I can work on, just finishing my rushes, just being that complete guy all the time. So,
yeah, and I think effort stands out on tape, physicality, ability to rush the passer. I'd love to talk about the difference between rushing the passer, and playing the run, because I think rushing the passer has so much value in today's NFL. It's definitely where you make your money is those pass rushing snaps. So, walk me through how the mentality changes, how technique and those things change when you're rushing the passer, pinning your ears back versus playing the run and run fits.
Oh yeah, when you rushing the passer, you have to get after, so that's kind of my mindset going into it, just attack. And I feel like it kind of just shows, on my film, when you watch pass rush rep, just versus the run, there's a lot of reading. So it's not as much explosion, but more so just keying and making sure that I'm in the right gap, things of that nature.
Awesome, man. And pressing forward here, I kind of want to talk specifically about, where you're seeing, the current, landscape of this class. Because I think you bring up guys like Derrick Brown, Jayvon Kinlaw, Essa, Justin Matabuke. There's other names that come up when people talk about this defensive tackle class, but more often than not, they're not bringing up yours in their top 5, top 10 type of defensive tackles in this class. Why do you think media are kind of, off of you compared to where we are with PFF?
I just feel like it's one of those things where if you look in detail, you see the technique, you see just how technical of a player I am. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing that I take offense to, it's just over time I prove those people wrong. That's kind of how I look at it. Everything happens for a reason. So at this point I'm just controlling what I can everything else, I really can't worry about it too much.
Yeah, you bring up technique. Is that something you kind of pride yourself in? Is that something you work on a ton in the process?
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. Details are very important, especially in our position. It can save you when you're in compromising positions. So I feel like it's very valuable.
Talk to me about a given game week, what you're doing to prepare for an opponent. How much is film study is involved? How much are you working your technique with position coaches? I'd love to get more insight on like what you do to prepare every week.
Film is probably the biggest component. Just from getting like little cues that can give me an advantage that week versus whoever we're playing. Film, tells no lies. So people tend to give tendencies, and that gives me an advantage when I'm getting ready to play them.
What kind of tendencies do you mean? Can you get more specific over like what you're looking at? Is that how they're lining up, or what are you looking for?
So if a lineman has a tendency to soft set, I might hit him with some aggressive moves, But if we play in a team where the O-lineman, he's more of a hard hitter, somebody that's going to lean at me, I'm going to give him some finesse moves, So it's just one of those things where I have to know each week who I'm going against, what type of player I'm facing, and just being a pro about it.
I want to finish with this. I want to, throughout this entire process, people are kind of telling you what they think you'll be at the next level, what you're good at, what you're bad at, all of those things. I want to hear from you what you think makes you one of the better defensive tackles in this class. What do you bring to the table that's special or unique?
I just think my explosion. It's just something that you can't really teach, and my technique as well. That's something you can teach, but I just feel like those things, kind of help me when I am in positions that, necessarily might not win all the time, So it's just one of those things where, that explosion is really what I feel like separates me.
Great, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I appreciate your time. All right, we're back. Major takeaways from those interviews for me. One, Jack, very smart dude. I think wants to get better in the NFL. I think he recognizes that he's still getting better. I think what's interesting, his discussion about trying to get over 300 pounds, trying to get over 305 pounds, that kind of constant battle of him like having to eat a ton. And then also what his takeaway is practicing against Derrick Brown and Marlon Davidson. I think he said, that helps slow the game down for him. I think that's going to help him at the next level for sure.
Oh, I feel so bad for Driscoll having to eat all day. Oh, man. Wow.
Oh,
it
stop.
Sucks. Oh.
Stop.
Man, the cross he has to bear.
Jordan
it sounds
Elliott.
like me after my senior year of college, too. Just having to eat all day.
Jordan Elliott, as you can tell from the interview, very short and sweet with what he had to say. But I think things that stood out for me is that he knows that, like when he said, technique is how you win when you're in compromising positions. I think, what he was saying about how learning technique to get out of bad situations and also knowing that his explosiveness and athleticism at the snap is where his strengths are. I think Jordan Elliott very self-aware of what he's good at. And again, he and I were both confused on why he's getting slept on. I don't know why he's not regarded as a top 50, top 30, top 50 player in this class like PFF has him right now.
All it takes is one, though. Hopefully someone buys in because I think he really is that good. So we'll see.
All right. Before we dive into the worst picks from Steve Palazzolo's mock draft and the pub crawl segment, I got to bring up the draft guide giveaway. I sent an email to, I think it was over like 150, 200 people who put their email in the review for the podcast. If you did not receive that email with the draft guide, please email me, austin.gayle@pff.com. Email me with a screenshot of your review. I will send you a draft guide. If you didn't get one, I probably fucked up when I was trying to take your email, remove the spaces, and then send you the email. There were a couple people who put a space between every letter of their email. Like, come on, guys, help me out here. Did not make things easy. But I also, in addition to that, I want to say really appreciate the feedback on the podcast. Sounds like you guys really like a lot of things we're putting out. We're going to continue to put out great content, Mike and I. So really happy with the feedback we did receive. Go get your draft guide. Send me an email if you did not get it with a screenshot of your review. All right. I just wanted to add to that and say, yes, I read all the reviews. Thank you so much to all you guys. We really put so much work, Austin and I, into this podcast and that draft guide. To know that you guys listen and enjoy means the world to us. So thank you so much for continuing to listen and for leaving those reviews. Hopefully you guys enjoy that draft guide. LFG. All right, let's bury Steve Palazzolo. First one on the board here. Lions passing on Chase Young. Rip into him for me.
What are you doing, Steve? Chase Young. Can't miss. We've said it. They have a need at edge. Like, Jeffrey Okudah, very good player, and I get what we preach, coverage over pass rush, whatever. I still believe that we underrate, in terms of wins above replacement, George and Eric, turn off the podcast if you're listening right now. We still underrate dominant edge rushers in terms of wins above replacement because we can't quantify for them. And it's one of the quantify. Freudian slip. It's one of those things where you don't let a guy who's that dominant beat you if you're an opposing offense. Like, if you don't just let your offensive tackle keep getting his ass kicked, unless maybe you're Mike Martz and your quarterback's Jay Cutler, you don't let it happen. Like, you go and scheme and change the way you're calling plays to account for that. And yes, you can still account for an edge rusher, and yes, you can like chip him every time and neutralize him, but that's taking a guy out of your progression. Like, you are chipping him, and that's altering the way you operate your offense. So I don't think we properly account, and I'm not sure there is a way to properly account for that, a dominant edge rusher, but that's what I envision Chase Young being. I mean, like I said, I've never seen a prospect like him. There's no reason he shouldn't be like that. So, Steve, what are you doing? Passing on Chase Young. Worst mock ever.
I was having this conversation earlier. It's like, okay, look at your two evaluations of Okudah and Chase Young. If you're as confident that Chase Young will be an elite player in the NFL, you're as confident in that as you are that Jeffrey Okudah will be an above average to elite cornerback, you take Okudah. But there's zero chance your evaluation you're as confident that your Chase Young is going to be elite that you are that Jeffrey Okudah is going to be above average to elite. I think you take the one where you have higher confidence level. And Chase Young, I am way more confident that he's going to be an elite, highly above average player than I am Jeffrey Okudah will be something similar. And that's where I'm with Chase Young over Okudah right now. All right, moving forward here. Eagles drafting T. Higgins over Jalen Reagor. He texted us about this one, and I was kind of blown away about that. I did not expect the Eagles to go after T. Higgins, a guy with a very slow 10-yard split, not going to have the explosiveness that they desperately need. I think they need explosiveness, not size. Am I right?
Yeah, I get why, because Carson Wentz does love throwing to these contested catch wide receivers, and like he will give guys chances, but they already got two of them. Like, you don't want a team full of these guys. You need someone who can separate at some point. And the biggest issue is once Deshaun Jackson got hurt, they had no speed. They had no one to challenge down the football field. And Deshaun Jackson, what is he, like 33 now? Like, there's no sort of sure thing that he's going to come back and be the Deshaun Jackson we knew and loved before. So yeah, I just had the Jalen Reagor over Denzel Mims take. I definitely have Jalen Reagor over T. Higgins take as well.
Can you imagine J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, T. Higgins, and Alshon Jeffrey out there just trucking along? Just big dudes are all in like the 4 or 5 speed types. Like, they want explosiveness in that receiving core. I can't imagine them going after T. Higgins over Jalen
No one
Reagor.
Ever open. Wentz just having to like heave jump balls every time. And yeah, they come down with them, but like...
That's amazing. All right, I added one in here. It's Josh Jones ahead of Jedrick Wills. And Josh Jones made more productive over the course of his career. His pass blocking grade, like we talked about before, has improved over the course of his career.
That's the Browns, right? He had him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Josh Jones to the Browns ahead of Jedrick Wills going to the Jets with the next pick. I think Jedrick Wills, though he only has 1 year of elite play, I think the tools are better. I think he's going to be a better pro in the NFL than Josh Jones.
Yes, this one's not as egregious to me because I've even said Josh Jones, year one, might be the best pass protector of the bunch, and you're the Browns. You need help right away. Whatever. But I still think, like, Jedrick Wills, there's too much to like about his game. There's too many good things that he does already, and I don't think he's going to be a liability out the gate either. Like, he's going to be fine out the gate, and then his ceiling can push higher than a lot of these other guys because he just moves differently. Like, that's half a pass protection. So, yeah, Jedrick Wills, what are you doing, Steve? Again, what are you doing?
All right, moving forward here. We're just ripping them apart right now. Last one. Dolphins passing on Jayvon Kinlaw for Ashton Davis.
Yes, and Jayvon Kinlaw making it all the way to 27. Steve, what are you doing there? But Dolphins, I mean, I get that they went Christian Wilkins last year, but that's all they have there still on the interior. And you go Ashton Davis to their secondary, and yeah, we like Ashton Davis, but still not as much as Jayvon Kinlaw. Like, he's an actual guy who can impact the pass rush there, which they have no one really at the moment for the Miami Dolphins. So, yeah, I would be hard-pressed to see. I mean, like, realistically, none of that's going to happen. But, yeah, Steve, what are you doing here? Worst mock ever.
Go to PFF.com and look at Steve Palazzolo's mock draft. And if you want to leave a review with your least favorite pick, I will definitely find a good chuckle out of that one. Moving to the next.
I will say this, though. I will say this about Steve. The write-ups is where the real value in his mock is, because obviously this is a what he would do mock, not what's actually going to happen. That's why, Chase Young falls all the way to 4. It's what he would do. But the write-up and actual analysis has value, unlike what we're about to get to here.
Yeah, I feel like that's with all mock drafts. I feel like with mock drafts, it's the analysis. It's like what you're like the scenario you're trying to create, and like the analysis behind it is what's way more important. Like predicting the NFL draft is not the way to go. I do agree that the analysis is where it's at. All right, segment, late addition to the podcast here. Had a few too many. We did this one previously, ripped apart a couple of mine and Renner's takes, but now it's time to move to another analyst. Yes, these are lighthearted, but sometimes it just got to get brought up. Mike, take the reins.
Maurice Jones-Drew did a mock draft last week, and I thought it was an April Fool's joke because I saw it on April 1st. But it turns out he published it the day before, so it definitely wasn't a joke. But I'll just read off to you the first 5 picks. He has the Bengals selecting Justin Herbert, number 1 overall. No trade here. He has the Chargers trading up to 2 to get Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, that one's kind of realistic. Then he has the Giants trading up to 3 with the Lions to get Chase Young, and the Lions trading back to 4 to get Derrick Brown, the Auburn DT. And then Joe Burrow falling all the way to number 5 to the Miami Dolphins, who don't need to trade or anything to get Joe Burrow. Which, it gets honestly worse from there. There's some crazy picks, and unsurprisingly, 3 running backs go in the first round of Maurice Jones-Drew mock draft.
I thought that's where it was going to start. I thought you were just like, you got 3 running backs in the first round, but this top 5 is ridiculous.
But then, the part that we kind of just said, it's the analysis that makes the most sense, or that's like the most important part of this. Here's his analysis of the Justin Herbert pick. An NFC North style quarterback with a big frame and strong arm to lead the Bengals in bad weather. Here's the Tua Tagovailoa one. A West Coast style QB. Tua has terrific arm strength, mobility, which he does not have terrific arm strength, mobility, and even though he has a hip that's like halfway healed, and is a proven winner, a quarterback who plays big in big moments is exactly what this team needs, which, like, the knock on Tua was how small he came up in the national championship game and the down the stretch last year, 2000, the year before that. So I question that. And then here's the Joe Burrow one, finally, the analysis. Burrow fits perfectly into what the Dolphins do offensively with a quick release and untapped potential. But it didn't say untapped. It said uptapped, which I think he meant untapped, but it said uptapped. So
he has Raekwon Davis going in number 20 of the Jags. How upset would the Jags be with this haul? Oh my gosh. This is absurd. Raekwon Davis at 20. Oh,
this was the definition of had a few too many. So
shout out to MJD for putting the mock together. He gets the conversation going. Analysis. I think terrific arm strength for Tua Tagovailoa also stands out as something where you kind of scratch in your head. But this is what mock drafts are for, baby. Start the conversation. Let's go. Joe Burrow to Miami at 5. Can you imagine if the Giants traded from 4 to 3 for Chase Young, and then the Lions, after just fleecing the Giants on whatever that trade would be, grabbing Derrick Brown with the value they returned? I'm blown away by the thought process here, but again, it gets the conversation going, I guess.
Had a few too many, for sure.
Had a few too many. All right, last segment, new segment, Pub Crawl, baby. It's where we go around the rumor mill, pick up some things that we're hearing from around the league, mostly Twitter, I guess. Around the league is unjust. What we're hearing.
There's no around the league anymore. Everyone's at their home, so.
Exactly, around the homes. All right, Isaiah Wilson, apparently from Matt Miller, Two GMs in the last 24 hours said they wouldn't be surprised if Isaiah Wilson, Daniel monster, Daniel Jeremiah, the big monster, opposite of Andrew Thomas at Georgia, going in the first round. I'm not surprised by this, actually. I'm not surprised by this, but I do find it insane.
I am surprised by this. So I did an article a couple weeks ago that were the top tackle to guard converts in this class. Isaiah Wilson was right at the top of it. The guy is 350 pounds. And he ran a 3-cone over 8 seconds and in the short shuttle over 5 seconds. Those are like thresholds for even playing he just can't move laterally. He doesn't have the movement skills to play at tackle. Like, he is very limited in that regard. And now he holds 350 pounds kind of absurdly. Like, he does not look, that's about as lean a 350-pound man as you'll ever see. But that doesn't mean he can stay at tackle and should be a first-round pick. Like, this guy is pretty raw. Like, he had reps where he just didn't touch guys on inside moves because he couldn't react quick enough. But
he's big, Mike.
Concerning.
But he's big.
He is big.
And he's got the deepest voice in the class.
Oh, man. His voice sounds fake. It's so deep. It might be the deepest voice I've ever heard.
It's kind of absurd that they're even, there's teams considering Isaiah Wilson in round 1. But again, not surprising. Like, teams just fall in love with size, and like they see size at offensive tackle and they fall in love with the potential. Like, I'm blown away. But again, not surprised by teams continuing to kind of fall into their old ways of like overvaluing the wrong things. All right. Also being talked about of late, Willie Gay Jr., the off-ball Mississippi State linebacker that we rave about pretty much every podcast, going early day 2. I'm all on board with this, baby. I draft him at the top of round 2.
This one I love, and I am all on board with it. This hype I can get on board with. And we just did the thing last week where I said end of day 2. I'd take him over. I'd rather have him at the end of day 2 value-wise than Isaiah Simmons in the top 10. Early day 2, probably not so much. I'd still rather take Isaiah Simmons. But Willie Gay, if you played a fully healthy last year, would have been a first rounder. He has freakish sideline-to-sideline ability, smooth hips. Like, he has all the things it takes to be not just a good linebacker in the NFL. This guy could be like a top 10 linebacker in the NFL. He has those tools. Now, yes, there's off-field because there's all that sort of stuff, but like you've said it, and what Daryl Jeremiah said is like he convinced people in the interview processes that like, that's behind him. He's a changed man sort of thing, which who knows if he is or not, but he plays football pretty well, so I'm going to take the chance.
Absolutely. I mean, Willie Gay, I'm all on board, baby. If the NFL teams can pass, give him a check in the character process there, I'm all for it. Because Willie Gay Jr., very good on the football field, a very good athlete. And from what I heard, from what Daniel Jeremiah said, talking to him myself, talking to Mississippi State social media guy, like this guy is not a bad dude. Like, it did not give off that like I'm a bad guy, playing the bad guy role. So Willie Gay Jr.
You gotta stop saying Mississippi State social media guy. You gotta say sources inside the Mississippi State program.
Okay, of course.
Sounds like it could be the Mississippi State head coach.
Sources within the Mississippi State program. I mean, there's another guy too, another source who actually was on the coaching staff that I've talked to, who said the dude just went through a bad situation at Mississippi State, was not given the support he needed. That's what I've also heard about Willie Gay Jr. I'm all for him turning a new leaf in the NFL and being a fantastic player. All right, last one, something that's drawn buzz, not necessarily from like sources per se, but Jacob Eason released his pro day on YouTube. I need your major takeaways on Jacob Eason's pro day.
My major takeaways is he's just throwing coronavirus balls to his receivers. Like, those things have to be are they sanitizing those? Are we getting hand sanitizer on that ball between reps? Like, this seems a little too – it doesn't seem like social distancing. I don't know. It was very inappropriate in my opinion.
Turf also holds bacteria pretty badly. I remember getting like talked to in like high school, coaches were saying that like turf can hold bacteria for a long time or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. I don't know if that's how coronavirus started. I don't know. But again, any actual takeaways on the Jacob Eason pro day?
No, don't like who. It's a cut up of a. It might as well be like it's a highlight reel. Like it's an edited video. Like he could have edited out all his misses. Like there's nothing. It wasn't one continuous stream. It was That was far.
I didn't
less
think about
valuable.
that.
Like even pro days themselves have zero value. I remember Johnny Manziel had one of the best pro days ever. So take that for what it's worth. And then a edited video of your pro day has even less value than that. So you can video yourself doing combine drills, and I will take that and I will watch those, and I will use those numbers, but I will not watch videos of you throwing against air. Edited.
Before we jump off the podcast, did you get a chance to see the Purdue linebackers athletic drills? Marcus Bailey?
I did not.
I thought they looked pretty nice. I would go and look that up. I thought he moved pretty well. I mean, guy who's coming off a torn ACL 6 months ago. Ian Rappaport tweeted ACL. It out.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's flying around these bags. I mean, better video than what Jacob Eason put out. That's for damn sure, because this guy looks healthy as hell for tearing his ACL 6 months ago.
I'm gonna have to check that one out then. That one I'll actually watch.
Check it out. All right, that's going to do it for the Monday edition of 2-for-1 Drafts. Really appreciate you guys' support again. Appreciate all the reviews. If you did not get a draft guide, send me an email at austin.gayle@pff.com. But until next time, this is Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, 2-for-1 Drafts.